This is the History of Portugal podcast, an Eat to My Own Beat podcast. New episodes every Friday. Check us out on our Facebook page, the History of Portugal podcast, on YouTube, as well as my website, www.eattomyownbeat.com. This is the History of Portugal podcast, an Eat to My Own Beat podcast. New episodes every Friday. Check us out on our Facebook page, the History of Portugal podcast, on YouTube, as well as my website, www.eattomyownbeat.com. This is episode 109 of the History of Portugal podcast, the early reign of Ali ibn Yusuf. Ali ibn Yusuf, born 1106, died 1143, was born in Quetta and educated in the tradition of Al-Andalus. Unlike his predecessors, who were born in the Sahara, his long reign of 37 years is historically overshadowed by the defeats and deteriorating circumstances that characterized the later years. But the first decade or so, prior to 1118, was characterized by continuing military successes, enabled in large part by skilled generals. While the Almoravids remained dominant in field battles, military shortcomings were becoming apparent in their relative inability to sustain and win long sieges. In these early years, the Almoravid state was also wealthy, minting more gold than ever before, and Ali ibn Yusuf embarked in the ambitious building projects, especially in Marrakesh. Upon his enthronement, Ali ibn Yusuf was accepted as the new ruler by most Almoravid subjects, except for his nephew, Yahya ibn Abu Bakr, the governor of Fez. Ali ibn Yusuf marched his army to the gates of Fez, causing Yahya to flee to Tlemcen. There, a veteran Almoravid commander, Mazdali, convinced Yahya to reconcile with his uncle. Yahya agreed, went on a pilgrimage to Mecca, and upon his return, he was allowed to rejoin Ali ibn Yusuf's court in Marrakesh. Ali ibn Yusuf visited Al-Andalus for the first time of his reign in 1107. He organized the Almoravid administration there and placed his brother Tamim as an overall governor, with Granada acting as an administrative capital. The first major offensive in Al-Andalus during his reign took place in the summer of 1108. Tamim, assisted by troops from Murcia and Cordoba, besieged and captured the small fortified town of Usles, east of Toledo. Alfonso VI sent a relief force led by veteran Alvar Fanez that was defeated on the 29th of May in the Battle of Usles. The result was made worse by Alfonso VI because his son and heir, Sancho, died in the battle. In the aftermath, the Castilians abandoned Ceuta and Huete, which opened the way for an Almoravid invasion of Toledo. This came in the summer of 1109, while Ali ibn Yusuf crossing over to lead the campaign in person. The death of Alfonso VI in June must have provided another advantage to the Almoravids. Talavera, west of Toledo, was captured on the 14th of August. Toledo itself, however, resisted under the leadership of Alvar Fanez, unable to overcome the city's formidable defenses. Ali ibn Yusuf eventually retreated without capturing it. Meanwhile, the Taifa king of Zaragoza, al-Mustalin, was a capable leader, but faced conflicting pressures. Like the previous Taifa rulers, he continued to pay pariahs to the Christian kingdoms to keep the peace. But popular sentiment within the city opposed his policy and increasingly supported the Almoravids to appease his sentiment. Al-Mustalin embarked on an expedition against the Christians of Aragon, but failed. He died in battle in January of 1110 at Valterrera. His son and successor, Ahmad al-Dawala, was unable to establish any authority and faced the threat of revolt, fled the city, Ali ibn Yusuf seized the opportunity and gave Muhammad ibn al-Hajj the task of capturing Zaragoza. On May 30th, Ibn al-Hajj entered the city with little opposition, ending the last independent Taifa kingdom. The Almoravids remained in the offensive in the following years, but some of their best generals died during the time. In 1111, Sir Ibn Abu Bakr, the governor of Seville, campaigned in the west, occupying Lisbon and Santarém, and securing the frontier along the Tagus River. Muhammad ibn al-Hajj continued to be active in the east. His expedition to Huesca in 1112 was the last time that Muslim forces operated near the Pyrenees. In 1114, he campaigned in Catalonia and raided across the region, aided by Ibn Ayesha and Valencia. On his return march, however, the Almoravids were ambushed and both commanders were killed. In late 1113, Sir Ibn Abu Bakr passed away. In 1115, it was Mazdali, one of the most veteran and loyal allies of Yusuf ibn Tashfin's family, who died in battle while serving as governor of Cordoba and campaigning to the north of it. Together, these deaths represent a major loss of senior and capable commanders for the Almoravids. In 1115, the new governor of Zaragoza, Abu Bakr ibn Ibrahim ibn Twilifit, besieged Barcelona for 27 days, while Count Ramon Berenger III was in Majorca. They lifted the siege when the Count returned, but the same year, the Almoravids captured the Balearic Islands, which had been temporarily occupied by the Catalans and Pisans. The Almoravids occupied Majorca with a fight after the death of the last local Muslim ruler, Mubashir al-Dawla. Ali ibn Yusuf made his third crossing into Al-Andalus in 1117 to lead and attack the Cumbria after only a short siege. However, he withdrew his army, raided along the way back to Seville, and won significant spoils. But it was a further sign the Almoravid initiation was being depleted. Thank you for listening to the History of Portugal podcast, a Eat to My Own Beat podcast. New episodes every Friday. Get more information on the History of Portugal podcast on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out www.eattomyownbeat.com for more information on our travels. Thank you for listening to the History of Portugal podcast, a Eat to My Own Beat podcast. New episodes every Friday. Get more information on the History of Portugal podcast on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out www.eattomyownbeat.com for more information on our travels.